Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. It is the first Thursday of the month, and that means it's recipe time. Food and cooking bring family and friends together. There's nothing quite like sharing a family meal or passing along a recipe to a friend. Here at Across the Fence, we've been sharing recipes with you for over a half century. In continuing our tradition, here's Chef Marco with family recipes.
Hi, I'm Mark Ayala, and I'm here to share another recipe with all of you. A couple weeks ago, a good friend of mine, Paula Lapham from Plattsburgh, New York, shared her recipe for spaghetti sauce with me. She actually wrote it in this little piece of paper by memory because it's a recipe that she makes for her family often. And you've heard me say many times here in the show that recipes are like heirlooms that we pass from one generation to the next. So the story behind her spaghetti sauce and what makes it so special is that her grandmother got it from this old lady from Italy who would visit her son in the Dannemora area. That recipe is being passed in her family ever since. And now she's sharing it with all of us. So what's different about this spaghetti sauce? Well, it's basically that it's so easy to make and it's made in a slow cooker or a crock pot. Wow, you can see the steam there. It's ready to eat. It's been cooking for about 8 hours. And you can see here as I stir it, that is very meaty. It has like a really nice consistency. So let me tell you how I put this together. First, in a skillet, you're gonna brown 2 pounds ground beef. You are going to transfer your ground beef to a crock pot or a slow cooker. Then you're going to chop 2 onions. You are then going to add 1 large can tomato puree, 1 large can tomato paste, and 2 cans stewed tomatoes. And this recipe is a little heavy on the garlic, but that's what makes it so tasty. So Paula recommends to use 1 whole bulb garlic that you're then going to chop. Or you can also substitute for minced garlic like the one that you get at the grocery store. And those are your main ingredients for this spaghetti sauce. And now we go on to seasonings. You are now going to add Italian seasoning to taste. Then you're going to add red pepper flakes. I use 2 pinches, but you can always add more or less depending on your preference. Then you're going to add salt and pepper, and you're going to close the lid, and you're going to cook this for about 8 hours. The first hour on high and then the rest on low. And let me tell you, this is one of the easiest spaghetti sauce I've ever made because making in the crock pot saves a lot of time. You can prep all your ingredients the night before, start it in the morning, and by the time you come home, you have a warm meal waiting for you. So let's add some of this spaghetti sauce, which as you can see is really nice and meaty. And check that out. Doesn't this look delicious? And you can see how it's nice and hot. Oh my gosh, my mouth is watering just looking at it. And to top it off, it never hurts to add a little bit of Parmesan cheese on top. And it is ready to serve. I mean, I really hope that you try this recipe because like I said, Paula vouches for it and now I can vouch for it as well because it's really good. Like I said, it's something that your whole family is going to enjoy. Okay, so now that we've done dinner or lunch in this case, and like I said, recipes are like heirlooms, and this one is particularly special to me because it came from someone who was very close to me. And check out this pie because of course now we have to do dessert. And this recipe is for a cherry raspberry pie. And this recipe came from Mona Jarvis, who's the mother of the former Across the Fence producer Lynn Jarvis. She passed this recipe to Lynn and then he passed it on to me. And I consider that a big honor because this recipe is not only a great recipe, but it's also a blue ribbon winner at the Champlain Valley Expo, which is coming soon, by the way. So I made a little modifications on this recipe because it was mostly raspberry cherry, and now since I was given some cherries by a friend of mine, I decided to use them in a pie, and we made it more of a cherry raspberry pie. So let me tell you how I put this together. First, you're going to start by pitting your cherries. And you want to get about 3 cups cherries. Then you're going to add 1 cup fresh raspberries. Top that with 1 cup sugar. Then you're going to add 3 tablespoons tapioca and 1 teaspoon lemon juice. And you're going to mix it well. And making your own crust is highly encouraged. However, if you don't have the time, you can always use the crust that you can find at the store. Then you're going to spray a 9-inch pie plate, add your bottom crust, and pour the cherry raspberry filling in. And a lot of people swear by adding a dot of butter to the top of your pie before putting the top crust. However, I decided against it since I figure we already have enough calories in there. So then you're going to add your top crust. Then you're going to seal and flute the edges and make sure to cut slits into the pastry. Then bake your pie at 350 degrees for 60 to 70 minutes or until it's golden brown and the fruit is bubbly. If anything, the hardest thing about this pie is waiting for it to cool. So let's try this, and hopefully this pie will come out in one piece. And oh my gosh, look at that. It did break a little bit, but look at that filling. It looks so good. I really hope you give these recipes a try because, like I said, they're recipes that are tried and true, and hopefully these are recipes that, just like they've been coming down through generations and different families, you can adopt them and you can pass them to the next generation in your own, and so on and so forth. And remember that Across the Fence is also a family tradition. Remember that our website has a lot of recipes there. And also make sure to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get all the latest updates of Across the Fence right in your inbox or your computer. So, oh my gosh, it's so many options here. I feel like I'm gonna try the spaghetti because, as a lot of you know, pasta is one of my favorites. So, on that note, from my kitchen to your kitchen, happy cooking.
Thank you, Marco. A reminder that you can find our recipes on the Across the Fence website. The archives go back more than a decade, so you'll find plenty of recipes to choose from. Earlier this summer, we provided information about the gypsy moth caterpillars that are munching their way in swaths across the state. A few years ago, a different insect was causing defoliation. Here's UVM plant diagnostic expert Ann Hazelrig.
This is a beautiful row of Viburnums, which is an important landscape plant for Vermont. And this year, for the first time in several years, we're seeing damage from the Viburnum leaf beetle. This was a beetle that showed up in the last 20 years in Vermont, and it causes all this damage in the foliage of Viburnums.
So tell me a little bit more about the Viburnum leaf beetle itself. What's its life cycle like and what does it do?
The Viburnum leaf beetle overwinters as an egg, and in probably early May it hatches and the young larvae comes out. It's kind of a yellowish larvae, feeds on the undersides of the leaves. Kind of hard to see, but they get bigger and bigger, and they cause this sort of damage, this lacy look to the foliage. And the reason this pest is such a destructive one is that both the larvae feeds on the plant and the adult. So as the larvae feeds, it gets bigger. Eventually it crawls down the plant, it will pupate, and then adults will emerge. They'll come back into the plant, like in July, and resume feeding. So it really is sort of a double whammy for the plant, and over time it can defoliate the plant and actually kill plants over time. So what we're seeing now is the adults that are currently on the bush are laying eggs in the current season's growth, and you can see all these egg-laying sites. It's not the actual egg, but it's the adult cuts a slit and lays 8 little eggs in there, covers it up with plant parts and beetle cement, and that's how they overwinter.
What have you seen this year?
We're not sure why we're seeing the damage so heavy this year, because it was really heavy early on, and then it sort of dropped off. We weren't seeing any damage by the insect for several years until it sort of reemerged this year. So we're not exactly sure why, but for some reason this year it's been a good year for Viburnum leaf beetle.
What should homeowners know if they're seeing some of this damage on their plants or thinking about getting some viburnum plants?
Right, so if you're considering buying a viburnum, they're great landscape plants, but there are resistant cultivars. So you should look for a resistant variety to this pest. That's the first step. The next thing, if you have viburnums on your land, go out and look at this current season growth, and in winter, probably before May, late April, go in and prune out these egg-laying sites and destroy them, because that's what's going to decrease that feeding population for next year. So that's one of the best things you can do, is just clip these out. Then in early May, late May, check your leaves for the young larvae, and there are some good organic controls that you can use on the larvae. And then again, you want to check your plants and look for the adults later on and control those with another kind of another insecticide. But it's best to control the larvae with an organic insecticide while they're small, because you'll get the best control.
Thank you, Ann. And once again, thank you for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. Stay well.